If you've lived and engaged with a narcissist for a pretty good period of time, you don't need me to tell you, but you know these people can just wear you out. And the distastefulness of your engagement with them can be so strong and so persistent that finally you begin wondering, do I just need to get away from this person completely and permanently? Now, I understand that people will say, well, if you're living with a narcissist, just go no contact. Well, sometimes that's necessary. Other times there's so much other collateral damage that goes along with it that it's not really the best thing. And so in order to help you understand what might be your final straw, so to speak, that would help you make a determination as to whether you need to move on or not, I've come up with a list of 10 primary things that what I consider to be based on some research and also based on my own interactions with people like you who are dealing with a narcissist. These are what I consider to be some of my top 10 characteristics or ingredients that would show that the relationship is at an ending point and you just can't move on. So I'm going to go through these with you, and I want you to kind of take an inventory to see how much of this you have been dealing with, and if it's time for you to say enough is enough. Now, the first criteria that implies that you need to be moving on is the criteria of the narcissist killing your spirit. I want you to begin thinking, what is it that defines you? Well, there are a lot of things that go into the definition of you. Your beliefs, your preferences, your emotional responses, hobbies, interests, your connections with people away, even your profession. And there are times when the narcissist can so come along and say, I don't like any of that. I think you're stupid. I think your emotions are terrible. Your beliefs don't make sense. Why would you have the preferences that you have? I don't want to connect with your connections. And they kind of give you the impression that says being you is just not reasonable. You're not reasonable. I don't think there's anything redeemable about you. You know, when you hear those kind of messages long enough, do you find yourself thinking, I feel like a shell of a person now, because whenever I try to assert my me-ness, it just gets shot down. That's what I mean when I say killing your spirit. There are times when that has been such a persistent ingredient in your relationship with a narcissist that that you can conclude it's time to do something very different. A second ingredient that says it may be time to move on, and that is when there's ongoing isolation or alienation. There are times when the narcissist is going to make it very uncomfortable for you to engage with the people that you know and love best. As an example, I spoke with one woman whose husband was so harsh and caustic toward her family of origin that she said, it's been 11 years since my brother or my sister have come to my house, because they knew they weren't welcome here. And they lived within about a 2-mile radius of each other. And I thought, 11 years and your own adult siblings won't come because they've been alienated by this highly controlling narcissistic husband. That's an example of what I'm talking about. Now, narcissists can many times make it very difficult for you to maintain, perhaps like in this person's case, family ties, or they don't want you to be around certain friendships or favorite activities. One of the primary characteristics of narcissistic abuse is they try to take you to a place of isolation. When that's something that's very ongoing, you know you're at a bad place. A third indicator of needing to leave is what I would just put under the category of constant haranguing. Many times narcissists will have such a deep history of ridiculing you or harassing you or mocking you or saying harsh and critical words toward you. They dislike your interests and they make fun of your interests and they make fun of your family and friends. Oh, you think you're so special, and just lots of sarcasm. Are you on the receiving end of haranguing communication? That implies a high level of disdain and superiority that the narcissist feels toward you. A fourth indicator, and this kind of goes along with number 3, but takes it to a little bit of a different level, and that's the ingredient of contempt. Many times when you've been in the presence of a narcissist, you realize they don't just disagree with you and they don't just dislike some of the things that you prefer. They have a sense of disgust toward you. It takes that sense of condescension and it holds you in such a low regard that you almost wonder, do you hate me? Do you have that much disdain for me? And basically, through contempt, a narcissist may be implying, you are so beneath me. When that's an ongoing, persistent ingredient, it could be time for you to be saying, sayonara, I've got to keep moving on. This isn't working. A fifth indicator that it may be time to move on is what I refer to as divided loyalties. Now, obviously, when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, one of the things you want is to have a feeling of connectedness and loyalty and shared responsibility, whatever the relationship may imply. But then you realize the narcissist doesn't share the same loyalties. It may be that that person is loyal to their alcohol, and that's all they really care about. Or I've had in this day and age in particular, people come in and say, well, my partner's constantly upstairs playing video games till 3 o'clock in the morning, and we hardly do anything, and they've got a loyalty towards the groups that they play with online, but not to me. Or it could be that that there's an extramarital affair, and obviously that's going to be something that's going to be very difficult. They can have codependent attachments to other individuals that supersede their attachment to you. As an example, I've had a situation where, or many situations, let's say the wife in a marriage is so tied to mother that mother dictates everything, and so there's a divided loyalty there, and it breaks into the marital situation. Or a person can have a commitment to their work environment or the people that are there to the extent that other relationships suffer because of that. Divided loyalties can be a part of it. A sixth indicator, and that is the ongoing keeping of secrets. Trust is lost. You may have heard the old saying that your relationships are only as healthy as the secrets allow you to be. And there can be times when that highly narcissistic person may have hidden uses with money. Or maybe they haven't paid their taxes properly, or they refuse to be accountable time-wise. And they don't want you to know what they're doing and when they're doing it. And I mentioned a minute ago, there can be an extramarital affair, or there's just a general sense of phoniness that they operate with. There's a secretiveness that's there, and it's pervasive and it's ongoing. A seventh indicator can be an imbalance of power and control within a relationship. Now, those of you who have followed me carefully, you know that I have this kind of backwards understanding of control. The best way for me to be in control is to quit trying to be so in control. I want my influence to be such that goodness and decency and honor, those kinds of characteristics are what holds us together, not a dictator's kind of mindset. With narcissists, though, they're all about control. And so they can come on in such an overpowering and you will do things my way, black and white kind of thinking, lack of equality, lack of regard for you, that it's like, whoa, we have a huge imbalance here. This person wants all control and all submission from you. And when that's persistent and ongoing, then again, we have a very difficult situation. An eighth indicator is what we would just simply refer to as communication breakdowns. One of the primary characteristics of narcissism is a lack of empathy. And when we have good communication, it needs to be a two-way street. An ultimate goal of communication is the willingness to hear one another so that we can know how to speak into each other in a more informed kind of way. Narcissists, nope, I'm not hearing, I'm telling. And so they want it to be a one-way kind of a thing. So we have low empathy, and why would I need to hear from you? I don't care. And so listening is held in low regard. A ninth indicator is what we would refer to as stonewalling. There are times when the narcissist can just say, I don't want to have anything to do with you. They shut you out. They make themselves terribly unavailable, sometimes just emotionally, other times physically. They just will not open up. There's a very tight wall of defense. There's a stubborn withdrawal, and the withdrawal typically has a sense of punishment to it. And then a tenth indicator that says we may be done is, and this one's a big one, and it's a sense of abuse on many different kinds of fronts. Now, obviously, if there's physical abuse, then that's something that's extremely negative and extremely detrimental. Sexual abuse, whether it's toward you or toward other individuals, if there's verbal abuse and emotional abuse, it's like at some point, it's like, I've got to stand up for my sense of self-respect, and this is not part of the equation. So there we have it. We have 10 different indicators of the need to move on away from the narcissist. And obviously, if you have multiples of those 10, then that just adds to it all the more. I want you to remember a mantra that I hold on to, and that is Dr. C. DRC stands for dignity, respect, civility. No one is going to do as good of a job of taking care of you and standing for those ingredients as you. Now, you'd like for the person that you're engaging with to say, well, I happen to agree with all of that, and I want to lean into those kind of characteristics. But when that narcissistic individual, through their attitudes and their behaviors and treatment of you, it's like, no, none of that DRC stuff from me. You're going to get what I say you need to get, and it's not going to be very pretty. When they make that clear that that's where they are, you can just more or less say, if your style of relating is just one way and it all has to be your way, then I choose not to go along with that. And that means that I'm going to make decisions designed to make or to take me to a better place. That's how I want to go. So I hope that you have good criteria and well-conceived ideas about what you believe is proper and reasonable. And when those criteria are completely blown away, then you may have some difficult decisions to make, but you need to practice self-care. And I do hope that videos such as this can be helpful for stimulating thinking on your part. I really do care about what happens to you, and just know that I'm glad that you bring me along the journey with you. If you've not already done so, I would invite you to hit that subscribe button, and we'll keep you apprised of more videos. We have a website, survivingnarcissism.tv, with lots of videos and articles and quizzes on there. It's meant to be an augmentation of what we're doing here on YouTube. Check it out. I think you'll find some very interesting things on there. If you need to talk with somebody online in an online counseling setting, we've vetted a group, and there's a link below that would allow you to get in touch with the people there. If you would be interested in online at-home testing for hormonal issues, because you know that stress can be a very strong part of dealing with a narcissist, we have some things that could help you there. In addition, we have my online video workshops, links to my books, and of course, we have coffee mugs. Now, know that I want the best for you. I honestly believe that if you're alive and breathing and have red blood, you deserve that dignity, respect, and civility. So make sure that you're living in an environment that allows that to come out and be what it needs to be for you. Now, all of that said, I wish for you safety. I wish for you goodness. I wish for you peace.